Hey guys, how you doing? Right here again. If you'd like to subscribe, it's Nitro Kyosho. A lot of my subscribers ask me about the size difference in helicopters, what the gains are, the different advantages of smaller, bigger helicopters. And I've gone through all of the different sizes, and I have down here converted them all from millimeters to inches. We don't deal with millimeters in this country. We deal with the inches system of measuring. So what we're going to do is go through, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll have an idea of the different sizes and the gains and everything. Now I have a 500 and I have two 450s. I don't have a 250. A lot of people on YouTube complain about how hard a 450 is to fly. Well, a 250 is even harder to fly because it's tinier. The smaller the blades get, the less balance, and the more maneuverable it is, and the more headaches you're going to have as far as learning. So anyways, let's start with a 450. Is 25 inches in length. Basically they're going from nose to the tip back here of the tail fin. Alright, and what we'll do is we'll go through all the sizes, and then I'll talk a little bit about the difference in gains of jumps from one to the other. The 450 is 25 inches. Alright, the 500 is 34.2 inches. The 550 is 41 inches. The 600 is 45 inches. All right, and the 700 is 52.3 inches. All right. Now the next thing we'll talk about is the difference, the gains. Now going from a 450, guys, to a 500, you're going to gain 9 inches. All right, in length here from basically, there's your difference right there. Alright, so you're going to gain 9 inches going from a 450 to a 500. From a 500 to a 550, it gets a little bit less. You only gain 7 inches in size. Now the worst one, in my opinion, is going from a 550 to a 600. Because there's only a difference of 4 inches, guys, which is nothing. A 550 is basically a 600. It has a 600 MX motor. It has a 600 frame on it, skids. The boom is a little bit smaller in length, and the blades are different, okay? The main blades. Other than that, it's basically a 600 helicopter. So the least amount you would gain is 4 inches from a 550 to a 600. Now the big difference between the 550 and the 600 is, okay, a 550 you can still run a 6-cell battery pack, alright, which a 600 now is a 12-cell, which means you've got to run 2 6-cell packs, okay, and at $224 a piece, it's about $450 per flight. So the 550 is really the last in line of being able to get out of the hobby fairly cheap with not having to buy a ton of batteries. Now, going from a 600 to a 700 is a 7-inch difference also. So the biggest difference appears to be, you know, jumping from one to the other, not from a 450 to a 700, but I mean jumping from a 450 to a 500, 500 to a 550, and so forth like that. The biggest gain is a 9-inch difference, and that's going from a 450 to a 500. Now, guys, it's not just the length of the helicopter you're gaining. You're gaining a more powerful motor, bigger gears. You can obviously see the difference in the blade size, okay? The tail blades are bigger, the torque, everything is bigger and more powerful, okay? So you're not just gaining a couple of inches in length. And like I said, you know, a lot of guys complain about the 450. They can't fly them, they don't like flying, they can't handle the wind and all that. So if you feel like that, you don't want to be messing with a 250, okay? And like I said, when you go to a 600 and you go to a 700, those are 12 cells, guys. Be aware of that. You have to run 2 batteries, okay? And most of those have the, I believe they have the external BECs too, so you're going to have to run a separate, usually a separate, another battery too, to run that. Depending on the model and how it's set up, okay? But a 500, the difference, when I went, I'm a big, anybody who knows me and knows my channel, I'm a big promoter of 450 size helicopters. I think that they're fast, they're agile, they can handle wind despite what people think. You can fly these things in 20+ mile-an-hour winds. I've flown with 20+ mile-an-hour winds without even being in a stunt or an idle up mode. They can handle the wind, guys. Just give them a chance. Now, you don't want to be trying to learn in the wind, obviously, and hovering around, because now you're going to have big problems. But flying it, it can be flown in pretty bad winds. Although, even hovering, guys, it's not a bad idea to go out and hover. You know, I used to do that when it would get a little bit windy, because that helps you too to learn better control, okay? But a lot of people are scared to fly in the wind. I used to be years ago, until somebody said, you know what, you live in New England, it's windy all the time, learn how to fly in the wind or go do crocheting. I think he said. And that's knitting of blankets like an older woman would do. You know? But anyways, I wanted to go with a 500, not because I don't like the 450s. I went with a 500. My reasons were it can handle more wind, obviously. It's a bigger, heavier machine. So if you do get a windy, irritating windy day and you really want to get out there and fly, you can. And visually, when it gets up in the air, the canopy is so much bigger and everything, and the difference in size, it really visually is a lot easier. I admit the 450s can be a pain sometimes. They can get small if you start flying them out too far. But I learned to not fly out beyond, you know, what you can comfortably see. Generally, if you're going to be doing acrobatics are usually done right in front of you. That's the problem I run into, is because when I do acrobatics, I don't want to just stay in front of flipping it around. I like to utilize the whole field, and I really try to fly both ways. You know, sport flying and throw in the acrobatics in between. But anyways, those are some of the differences, guys, in the sizes, all right? And we'll go through just quickly here. I'll show you, all right, on this measuring stick. 25 inches is going to be from the end of the table to right here is going to be a 450. Your next one is going to be a 500, is going to be 34 inches, which is going to be to here. Your next one is going to be a 550, which is going to be 41 inches, which is going to be from the end of the table to here. The next one is 45 inches. That's the 600. That is the end of the table to here. And the last one, if we can fit it in here, is the 700. That is 52 inches. And we just made it. So that is from the end of the table to here. So you can see that a 700 is basically the size of just about, it's basically the size of two 450s, one in front of the other like that. You can see that. That's the size of a 700. So, you know, a 700 is almost a 500. Well, no, it's not really a 500. It would probably be like a 500 and a 250. But that is the difference. 450, 500 goes to 34 right here, and then a 700 is your biggest, and that would go, let me put a bottle here so you could see where it would end. And that's it, guys. So I hope this video helped you out a little bit and gave you a little bit of knowledge of the different sizes in the helicopters. And if you'd like to subscribe, it's Nitro Kyosho, and we'll talk to you soon. One other thing, guys, to remember, the bigger the helicopter, the bigger the price to fix it, the bigger the price for parts, the bigger the batteries you need, and so forth. So keep that in mind. In my opinion, those two, 450, 500, are the best sizes.